Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
You got to go, man. You just have to go. Never wait on the right time, because the right time ain't ever coming. All that, when we get my ducks lined up in the row, no, you won't. No, you won't. Because as you have aspirations, you got to understand that the devil understands your aspirations too. The devil's job is to rob you of your destiny. See, devil, he only has one job: to rob you of what God intended for you to be. That's his only job. So he has a lot of people that work for him full time. They're called haters. And they at work all the time. And you all experience with them too. And so what you got to do is, when you have these ideas of greatness, you got to go forward. Because it's not going to be a right time. Just go. Just go. Go, jump, take a chance. I walked in a comedy club October 8th, 1985. Had never been in a comedy club, had only heard about them. I was writing jokes for this comedian. This girl told me, "You're writing his jokes?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Why don't you do them yourself?" I said, "How? Where?" She said, "A comedy club." I said, "What's that?" She says, "Comedy club." She said, "Why you writing them jokes for him? You ought to tell him yourself." She said, "I'm going to pick you up Tuesday and take you." We drove 45 minutes from Cleveland to Hilarity's Comedy Club. I signed up for the following week. 9 guys went up. I was just staring at them. She said, "How come you're not laughing?" Because I was just staring at them. Because every joke they told, I knew what they were going to say. And deeper than that, I knew what they should have said. And then when the 10th person came up, they called his name and he wasn't there. He got scared and left. So they said, "We're going to go to next week's list. Is Steve Harvey still here?" And I looked at her and I said, "Man, this dude in here got the same name I got." And he said, "Steve Harvey, you here? Come on up." I'd never been on stage in my life as a stand-up. I ran up on stage. Long story short, they had a clap-off. I won $50, amateur night. For 45 minutes, I cried all the way home. That girl said, "Why are you crying? It ain't but $50. I said, "No, you don't understand. I was born tonight." I said, "I'm going to go back, but this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life." October 9th, the next morning, I went to my job and quit my job with $50. $50. I just quit. Ex-wife left me. Mother-in-law, boy, I cost some hell. Made $3,000 first year in business, $5,200 the second year, $7,300 the third year. Became homeless, lost everything I ever owned, lived in a car for 3 years. I kept telling them jokes. My father was the only one who believed in me. My mother, my brothers, sisters, all my friends, man, get out of that, man. You ain't making no money. You can't tell no jokes. I just kept on. I just kept on. It didn't line up, but you can't wait till it line up. You got to jump. If you ever planning on soaring, you're going to have to jump. Now, I don't suggest you jumping like I did. That ain't for the faint of heart. But if you don't do it now, when you going to do it?
There was a day that I became wealthy. I'll tell you the day, I know that day I was rich. I was broke. I was pissed. I was angry at everybody else but who? Myself. But really underneath it, I was mad at myself. I just couldn't beat myself up anymore, so I was pissed. And I had a friend that I loaned money to when I had barely enough, and I knew he needed it. And I gave him $1,200, and I'm here not able to eat. I'm down to like $25, $26. And I'm saying to him, calling him, and he's not returning my call. And I just need some money, and he's ignoring me. I didn't ignore him then, so I'm pissed. I'm frustrated. In the midst of all this, I'm also pragmatic. I got 25 and change, call it $26. What the hell am I gonna do? I don't have any plans for economics. I got overhead that's crazy. I'm living in this little tiny apartment, 400 square feet in Venice, California. So I thought, okay, when I was totally broke early on, when I was 17, I used to save my money up and go to the smorgasbord and load up for Christmas, load up for the week. So I said, I was in Venice. I'm gonna go over to Marina del Rey, where all the yachts are, and there's a place there called El Chorrito. And I'm gonna go, they have an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord. I'm gonna load up for the winter. I'm gonna get there. So I didn't drive there because I wasn't gonna spend the gas to get there, plus I needed to walk, so I walked there. And I go in, I'm not dressed really great, but it's Marina del Rey, it's okay. And I got a place right by the window and I can see these yachts going by and I'm dreaming of what life could be like. And I'm starting to let go of my anger, and I'm starting to focus on what I want instead of what I don't want. How many followers say I? And that shifted me just a bit. And now I'm eating, which shifted me a lot. And I got this giant plate stacked up. And I don't know what the amount was. It was like, whatever it was, $6.95, $7.95, right? So I'm gonna do this. I could probably do this 3 or 4 times, right? Somewhere in that range. As I'm finishing my meal, this little boy comes in, dressed in a little suit. I honestly don't know how old he'd be, probably in the 3rd grade, so maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And he was so adorable, and he opened the door for his mother, and his mother was an attractive lady, and he came over and he pulled out the seat for her, and she sat down. And she was a pretty lady, but as pretty as she was, I was totally obsessed by this boy. He had presence at 7 or 8 years old. And it moved me. I don't know why, it moved me. And I thought, this kid is like pure. I wanted to always be this way. He's such a good kid, he's a giver. So I got up and I paid for the meal, and whatever it was, $6, $7. So now I've got whatever left, $17, $18, $19. And I walk up to this little boy, and I said, excuse me. And I said, I just want to acknowledge you for being such an extraordinary gentleman. I said, I saw the way you treated your lady, how you opened the door, how you pulled the chair out. I said, that's class. I said, my name's Tony, what's yours? I don't honestly remember his name, Charlie or something. And he looked up at me and I said, Charlie? I said, that's amazing, taking your date out for a lunch like this. He goes, well, actually, she's my mom. And I said, that's even more cool. And he said, oh, but I'm not taking her lunch because I think he said he was 8. I said, oh, yes, you are. I had no plan for this. I just reached in my pocket. I took all the money I had left, $17, $18, $19, and I put it on the table. I said, you're taking her to lunch. He looked up at me and he goes, I can't take that. I said, sure you can. He said, why? Because I'm bigger than you are. And he smiled real big, and I didn't even look at his mom. I just turned and walked away. And I didn't walk out of that door. I flew home. I should have been freaking out. How the fuck am I gonna eat? But I didn't. I flew because something inside of me had finally got past scarcity. I finally realized there's something inside of us more than our limits, especially around this thing called money that I had let terrorize me. And I got home, and the mailman came that day, and I had no idea how I was gonna have my next meal. And a letter comes, and it's from the guy I loaned the money to. Handwritten notes saying, I've been avoiding you. It's wrong. I'm so sorry. You were there when I needed you. Here's what I owe you plus a little bit more. And the $1,200 was there plus another $100 for the time that I had to take care of it. And for me, $1,300, that was enough to run my show for a month or 2. And I cried. And then I decided, what does this mean? And I thought, this means that whenever you give, it's always going to come back, so you don't have to ever think about that again. Just give. And the rewards will be greater than you can ever imagine. I don't know if that's coincidence, but I decided to believe that day was a blessing when I became rich. And I can tell you honestly, I've had tough days in my life, economically, emotionally, like all of us. But I've never gone back to that scarcity. I never will. The secret to living is giving. Do it when you don't have it, and I promise you, scarcity will leave your life.
Setting goals. When I started making my first list, Mr. Shope said, Mr. Rohn, said, I've got a suggestion for you. He said, I think one of the first goals you ought to set, you're 25-year-old American male, sure you've made some mistakes, but now you're on the road to better things. He said, why don't you, among all the goals you're going to set, said, why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? A millionaire. Why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? He said, it's got a nice ring to it. And he said, here's why. Now I thought, the man doesn't need to teach me why. I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to have $1 million? He said, no, that's not it. Here's why. For what it will make of you to achieve it. And I got one of the greatest classes in one sentence I've ever received in my life. Set a goal that'll make you stretch that far. for what it will make of you to achieve it. What a brand new reason for setting goals. What an all-encompassing challenge to have a better vision of the future. What for? To see what it will make of you to achieve it. And here's why. The greatest value in life is not what you get. The greatest value in life is what you become. Major question to ask on the job is not, what am I getting here? Major question to ask is, what am I becoming here? It's not what you get that makes you valuable, it's what you become that makes you valuable. Then he said, when you finally have become a millionaire, now, he said, what's important is not the money. I thought, wow, I've got some more to learn. He said, no, Mr. Rohn, I'm telling you honestly, you could just give the money away. Now, I did better than that, right? I told you. I lost it all. I'm rich by the time I'm 31. I'm a millionaire. I'm broke by the time I'm 33. Foolish mistakes I made. But what an experience that was. And I'm telling you, the man was right. When I finally was broke at age 33, guess what I discovered? My money did not mean that much. It represented only a fraction of all my assets. Shoaff said, once you become a millionaire, Mr. Rohn, you can give all the money away. Because he says, what's important is not the money. What's important is the person. Now, let me give you the key phrase on setting goals. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Always keep that in mind. What will this make of me? If I set this goal and go for it, not only will I achieve it, but what will it make of me in the process? What a whole new concept on setting goals. Don't set your goals too low. Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. Go where the pressures are to perform, to grow, to change, to develop, to read, to study, to develop skills. The guy says, well, I don't need much. Well, then you don't need to become much.
Many of us are pretty comfortable in our life. We've got a reasonably good income. The mortgage is paid. There's food in the fridge. We've got a nice warm bed to sleep in. And everything seems to be floating along just fine. And you know, a person in that position could very easily think, why would I want to do anything to change this? Well, we have found that if your life is not going in one direction, it absolutely, by law, must be moving in another direction. Many of us have established a comfort zone in our lives. We're just coasting along, taking the line of least resistance, just getting by. We've all worked hard to get to where we are, and it may seem a very good place to be. The problem with this is that once we stop reaching, stretching, seeking, and risking, we actually stop growing. The comfort zone frame of mind is settling for what we are today. That may be fine today, but without continued growth, and I believe this is the key line coming up, we are now all we are ever going to be. If you're in a comfort zone, beware. The danger of a comfort zone is that it doesn't hurt, and it might even feel good. Many take that to mean it's a good place to be, but it's not. A comfort zone may be what is holding you back from real growth, real accomplishment, and your potentially exciting and rewarding future. Now, I've mentioned if we're not going in one direction, we must by law be going in another direction. You're either creating or you're disintegrating. Whenever we hear a person say, I like it just the way it is, we know that person is advertising their ignorance of a very basic law of life, because absolutely nothing stays the way it is. I think, have been raised to believe that education is going to school for a certain number of years and be able to correctly answer a series of questions. But you know, many people will go to school all their life and be able to correctly answer the questions, but then when it comes to getting out into the marketplace and really making it happen, they just don't know how to compete. Many are withdrawn. They don't even feel comfortable meeting or greeting a stranger. Now, I think you know, and I know, that if we're going to improve, we have to have a very open mind. I once heard that an open mind was being prepared to throw away some of our most cherished beliefs when a better idea comes along. Now, you'll find that the vast majority of people seems to back into the future, dragging all of their old experience with them. When they're confronted with a new idea, they ask, does it fit? If it doesn't, then they say it's wrong. Now, what we want to do is ask ourselves, would this new idea improve the quality of my life, or would it get me going in the other direction? Everyone, without exception, has been born with tremendous resources lying within them. We've got deep reservoirs of talent and ability. And through following right rules and natural laws, we're going to find that we can draw that potential to the surface, and we can bring it to bear, and it will cause the manifestation of prosperity in our material world. Decide what you want, write it on a card, carry the card in your pocket, and read it as often as possible every day. Now, keep in mind, I was earning $4,000, I owed $6,000. I was sitting in a fire hall at the time, and I wrote on the card that I was going to have in my possession by New Year's Day of 1970, $25,000. Now, I wrote that on the card in 1960. You know, the idea of having $25,000, it was sort of a fantasy. I don't think there was $25,000 in the whole fire hall at the time. Now, I wrote that in the card in 1960. Keep in mind, I gave myself a decade to pull this deal off. I really didn't believe it was going to happen. But I found out a couple of things. I found if you write a lie on a card and you read it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. William James, back around the turn of the century, he said, believe, and your belief will actually create the fact. Well, I did what he suggested. I read this card every day. I'd carry it around and I'd just keep reading. Now, something very funny happened to me. 1 year later, I was earning $175,000 a year. Now, that was not supposed to happen. See, everything I'd been taught since I was a little boy indicated that if you don't go to school, you can't win. If you don't have business experience, you can't win. I had not gone to school. My second month in high school, they asked me to leave. I'll never forget how happy I was when they made that decision. But here I was, I was 16, I had very little knowledge, I had absolutely no skills, and at the very best, my attitude was poor. What chance did I have? I really didn't have any. But I didn't know that. And I found that it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You may not have a colorful background, and maybe you have. You may not have a lot of formal education, and maybe you have. But it really doesn't matter. If you've got a goal and you're willing to stick to it and study the laws, you're going to find out that you can win.
That it's necessary for us to begin to look at the future and know that it's possible that we can have our dream. Yes, it is. Other people have done it, then we can do it. We fail a lot of times. Well, a lot of other folks fail, and eventually they came back and they succeeded. So it's possible we can have what we want. And that we align ourselves with people that think like we do. It's necessary we get negative, do-nothing people out of our lives. It's necessary we never stop learning and growing and developing ourselves. It's necessary that we never give up, that we're going to keep on keeping on, that we're going to find a way to win or find a way to make it happen. And we know it's hard. It's not going to be a picnic. It's hard. It's hard. And we will do it hard. And once we do it hard and we go through it, we realize it was worth it. And once you discover it was worth it, it is done.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.